Yeah, now I don't want this. I want this. I want this. I want this. I show about staging. There's almost a social. What's the young? Don't you know what's the party? I go to. I know. Then up in. But who cares what anyone says about Vienna? Oh, Vienna. Who am I in billions? Oh, billions. Oh, no. But yeah, solar now. Oh, put the hand up, solar party. Yes, we understand it. Nagala to sa iba Pinoy. Recently, social media is a color. Uba dia kaka. What's up? Ala na yas man. Uba na ndio ambeta. Ukuna later stage. Asena san. Okundusi. Hey, sakula.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Faku. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm trying to switch on the video. Okay, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think it's in the setting of my device, but I don't know now.
Okay.
How to reinstate that in my device.
Okay.
It allows Zoom to access your camera from device setting, and then I said I'm able to. Then I said, okay. I'm not sure, man. Oh Christ! But I'll keep on trying. I guess maybe we should start.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe we should start.
Okay. So we're going to carry on with the questions I sent you last week, and maybe two others that I didn't send. So the first one was you have a lot of achievements and awards, and one of them being the PMR Silver Arrow Award for Most Admired Mayor in 1998, and also Most Effective Mayor in 1999. You are clearly driven and ambitious. Who would you say has the greatest or has had the greatest influence on your political career? Mr. Faku?
Okay, sorry for that.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I was saying the ambitious part is definitely not intentional if it is there, but clearly I have been motivated by the nature of how I grew up and where I grew up, and also the kind of people that I associated with in terms of their consciousness on the social environment in which we grew up in. I was born in New Brighton. I did my schooling between Port Elizabeth and Alice. and I stayed with very humble family, and also I'm coming from a low middle class family. So I wouldn't necessarily say I was generally ambitious in my life, but since I became socially conscious and politically conscious, and I think because I was also under the guidance of politically competent people, I think I pick up very good values from them. Hence, the person that I am in politics.
Okay. And also, what is the biggest accomplishment you have had as a politician, and especially in your term of office as mayor of the city of Port Elizabeth or Nelson Mandela Bay?
Well, you see, what is good about the term that I was sent to go and lead in the municipality was that it was the formative stages of our democracy. We were like the pathfinders of our democracy. You will recall, or your parents will tell you, that the municipalities that we inherited at that time were not as the municipalities that you see them now. They were divided into racial lines. There was a municipality for African people, that is Black people. There was a municipality for colored people. There was a municipality for white people. And these ones of white, of Black, Indian, and colored, they were called authorities. In other words, they were local authorities. The white municipalities were themselves then called municipalities. So when we came in 1994, we were tasked with the primary responsibility to unify the municipalities. And when you do that, you don't only just unify the municipalities in terms of the municipal boundaries and also integrate the municipalities in terms of the boundaries, but also the employees, the staff, the personnel, the programs, the budget, all those kind of things must now be unified and must now be centralized under one municipality, including how the residents of those Black local authorities and also these white municipalities, how they were taxed, their rates, their tax for electricity, for water, all that needed to be under one municipality, under one policy. So we needed to develop those kind of policies to integrate the employees and also those things. So I'm very proud of the group that we were the pathfinders in unifying the municipalities. That's the legacy that I'm very proud of, unifying the municipalities that were divided by apartheid along the racial lines.
Okay.
Yes.
Who, as a good leader who has achieved all of these awards we've mentioned, and what are your thoughts on the country's state, and what do you think is the biggest challenge facing our country today?
There are a number of challenges that are facing our country today. I can never be able to say one is more important than the others. But the truth of the matter is that I think we have a leadership problem in our country. Leadership problem in the political parties, leadership problem in civil society, meaning whether it's in the church, whether it is in sports, whether it is in culture, whether it is in what. It is very sad that we have degenerated as leaders to a point of chasing positions more than servicing the people. And as a result then of that lack of leadership with values, leadership with commitment to serve the people, as a result, the situation in our country is going down because the priorities have shifted to the cause of transformation and to the cause of liberation of our people.
Yes. And what do you think sets you apart from other politicians of your time?
I'm not sure if I'm set apart, quite honestly. But you see, some of the teachings that we got from the senior leadership that was there before us was to internalize the good values of the ANC and the good values of the liberation. In other words, you need to lead with example, and you need to respect the people that you are leading and the public in general. You also need to understand as a leader that leading is a privilege. Leading is not a right. You are not entitled, and therefore understand that your leadership is temporary, and your leadership is at the grace of the people that you are meant to serve. Now, those are the values that all leaders must internalize. Whether you are leading the church, whether you are leading the student movement, whether you are leading the sports, whether you are leading anywhere, internalize the values so that your conduct, your social conduct and interaction with people is seen in the manner in which you interact with people, is seen in a manner in which you express yourself in the presence of the people, so that people get to see the good values in you by your conduct. Yes.
Okay. Do you feel there is a need somehow for us as the African youth to revive African conscience and conduct or go about things the way that your generation used to in the past?
Yeah, no, certainly there is a need. There definitely is a need, because one of other things is to really to make our youth to be proud of themselves as African youth, and also to make them understand that there is nothing wrong in speaking English with the accent of your vernacular accent. There's nothing wrong. You see, just now I asked you to send me your photos, and you sent me 2 photos. Now, the photo that I like is the photo where you are wearing the beads. You see, it actually means you have accepted your Africanness, and you are able to go about it in the manner in which you conduct yourself on a day-to-day basis. So it's important that we must decolonize the mind of our youth. It's important that everything that we do must resemble our pride as being Africans, but also we must instill the values of being Africans in our own conduct as well, as you have done in that peak of yours.
Thank you so much. And then to the real questions, the main questions. You were at Robben Island during your school years, if I'm correct. meaning you were active in the struggle during your school years, fighting against the apartheid government. Would you say you regret getting involved in politics at the time, or was it worth it in terms of where you are in your life now?
Well, I certainly don't regret the years that I've spent in the struggle at my early age. I don't regret at all. After I have obtained my junior certificate from Cowan in 1995, I went to Loveday Teachers College to study as a teacher for training. That was my first year in 1976 when I was arrested in April 1976 in New Brighton. I was busy with my practical teaching course at Ewisile primary school in 1976. And I had to cut short because I was in prison. I went to detention, trial, and everything else. And I continued my studies in Robben Island, where I obtained my matric on Robben Island. But equally then, I continued on Robben Island with my political studies. I learned a lot from the combination of doing that. And I was released after I've finished my first sentence in 1981, I think. 1981, I don't get released. I continued with my with my struggle. Got arrested again in 1982, and then got released in 1990. And then I continued with my studies at what is called now the NMMU, but at that time it was called the Technical College to do public administration. Unfortunately, I couldn't finish my public administration. So whenever I had the opportunity to actually pursue my academic intention, I would. But again, because I tended more to gravitate towards politics, I continued with my politics. And I'm very grateful for all that ability to be able to sustain both things to this very end. And I would say to you as a young South African, continue with your studies. And I would say to you, it is important that you acquire your academic education, because politics during the time of liberation is not actually the same as politics of today. So please do not necessarily be attracted by all the flashlights and everything else of politics. Politics is a rough game, and I wouldn't encourage anyone to actually take it as a major focus, but to be active in the community, to seek to transform the community, to seek to assist the poor and the unemployed is fine, but please do continue to sharpen up your skills and your academic qualifications.
You have just mentioned activity in the community. What have you done to give back to your community, and what legacy would you say you have and will ever be leaving behind?
Well, there's so many that I've done for my community. There's so many that I will be leaving behind for my community. You know, the Cllr ITZ that exists today was established during my time, and my municipality was instrumental in ensuring that that ITZ is in existence. The land that Cllr got is a land that I signed. It has my own signature as a person to this very day. Secondly, that stadium that you see in Port Elizabeth is called Nelson Mandela, the big one that is there, is part of the legacy of our time when we were councillors. If you go back to the archives of how that stadium was identified and how it came about, surely you'll find my name somewhere there. The tarring of roads of our townships in Port Elizabeth, which is called Cllr today, that tarring, I insisted that tarring should actually commence during my time. And also one other thing as well, the establishment of the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan Municipality, which is a combination of Utenake, Port Elizabeth, Dispatch, and some part of what was called the Western District Council. Now, the establishment of that of the current Nelson Mandela municipality, I was the mayor in the processes of integration of those municipalities into a metro. So now you will note that during my time, I facilitated the unification of Port Elizabeth before it was a metro. I facilitated the unification of Port Elizabeth municipality and disbanded all the other Bantu local authorities, colored local authority, and Indian local authorities, which were in Port Elizabeth, into one municipality, which we then called Port Elizabeth Municipality. But later on again, when we were to be a municipality, I led the facilitation of unifying the other bigger municipalities now, your Utenake municipality, your Dispatch municipality, your Western District areas, and now your Port Elizabeth municipality, of which I was a mayor then, into a metro. So the coming about of the metro was itself a process where you would then integrate not only just the boundaries, but also unify people, integrate the staff, the personnel, redo the organogram of those municipalities to make sure that there is no clash in terms of positions of the employees and managers of those municipalities. Those are the things that we've done. Those are the things that will continue to be the legacy. Currently now, as I'm out of politics per se, we are busy establishing an NGO in New Brighton, which myself and some few other New Brighton born and bred people, we have decided that we must establish what we call the NBVR as an organ that will intervene in the dilapidation situation of the people of New Brighton. And we are hoping that through that intervention, at least we will rekindle the hopes of the people of New Brighton. Because as of now, New Brighton is very full of crime, very full of substance abuse, and all other things that are antisocial. So we are, as I'm speaking to you, we are busy trying to intervene in that situation of New Brighton.
One of the questions I'm mandated to ask Mr. Faku is how life on Robben Island was. Maybe you can mention some of the daily routines and that kind of stuff.
Yes. Now listen, prison is always a prison, you know. It depends on the inmates, how they conduct themselves, how they are united to improve their prison situation. So we, under the circumstances, we tried to make our situation livable as prisoners. We embarked on various struggles to improve our situations in terms of obtaining quality clothing because it was cold there, in terms of obtaining beds for us as prisoners because we were sleeping on the floor, in terms of going out to work so that our minds are creative. We don't stay in the cells, in terms of sports, to make sure that we get the necessary exercise, and also in terms of other abilities and interests that different inmates had. For instance, myself as a person, I used to have doves. And then you ask many people who were staying with me, they will tell you, before I went into another section, those are some of the, activities that we were doing. Others also would be engaged in the study, academic studies on Robben Island. So we would, under those circumstances, try and do something that would recreate our mind, just to defocus us from the immediate environment. And it needed people that have very strong mental skills, which indeed I think many of our comrades had. Of course, we were under the leadership of the Rivonia trialist comrades, like your Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Govan Beke, Raymond Mhlaba, Ahmed Katrada, and all the Rivonia trialists. And so they would guide us in how to conduct ourselves under prison conditions, and they would advise us on actions that perhaps they would feel are actions that are detrimental to our own health in prison. Because we were young, we were militant, and we were prepared to go to extremes to improve our situations. But under the guidance of those leaders, they would sometimes caution us of how we do. We would go to hunger strikes, we will go to boycotts of things whilst we are prisoners in prison, to try and actually make the authorities to listen to us. There was also an international Red Cross committee. Just check the International Red Cross, the IRC, which used to visit Robben Island once a year. It would visit the leadership of Mandela and them, and the International Red Cross recognized us as political prisoners, but the South African apartheid government did not want to give us the status of political prisoners. They gave us the status of special prisoners. It was a struggle that we found when we were arrested, and Mandela and his colleagues, they were continuing with that struggle, that we need to be given the proper status. But the South African government refused that. However, we struggled then for other recreational and study rights once we were in prison. We would also demand medication, proper medication, all sorts of conditions. It was a struggle. And I can tell you that the story is not told enough of how the other prisoners actually struggled to improve their conditions on Robben Island. Additional to what Nelson Mandela and the leadership in their sections were doing, and also what they did even before we arrived. So staying on Robben Island was quite a struggle itself. Yes.
If you can identify any, what are some of the positive impacts apartheid has had on the country?
Nothing.
Okay, Mr. Faku, and the two last questions, which were supposed to be directed to your family, but what leadership role?
Just before you come into it, you see, Tukela. Yes. There is nothing that the apartheid government has done for the people of this country. It was not a favor that they came here and colonized us. The fact that they built roads, they did this, they did that, it was for their own convenience. It was not for the people of this country. That is why they had land to themselves. They had industry to themselves. They had banks to themselves. They had mines to themselves. They had education to themselves. So never, never, I warn you, and I'm telling you in honest, never ever accept the fact that there was anything that the apartheid and the white government did that is good for us. There's nothing. The fact that all these buildings, all these roads, we have inherited them under democracy, is coincidental to history. It was not constructed for the good of the people of South Africa. It's coincidental to history because those were meant to be enjoyed by them, for them. Yes.
And the last question, Mr. Faku, what are some of your values about which you never compromise? And are you anyhow very strict?
I'm not very strict. I'm not very strict. You can't be very strict. You must only be strict to yourself, for yourself. Because other people have their own lives. We are made differently. We must accept one another. And if another person is doing anything wrong, find a way to say, no, this is wrong. And if the person believes that this is good for him, find a way to accept that and live with that. The thing of being strict must have limits. Otherwise, we're going to polarize the relationships. We're going to polarize the environment. You're going to live a very lonely life because you expect people to live your life. It's not, to me, it's not right.
Thanks to Kabile. Thank you so much, Mr. Faku. Yes,